Hello and welcome into We the Peasants podcast with Mr. Dadbod. Today we're going to talk about this stuff that's going on with these underground cities. Apparently, a lady who worked for the Bush administration, Catherine Austin Fitts, said over the last 2 decades, the federal government has spent $21 trillion. $21 trillion creating underground cities for the elites and the Democrats in case of an ELE, an extinction level event. Now, I've reported several times on a lot of my videos. You can go back and look. You can hear me talk about how the federal government and the elites want to reduce the population by 80%. Well, here we are finding out now that over the last 2 decades, they've spent $21 trillion creating an underground civilization, a city, where they can survive the most catastrophe, whatever, events. These people are planning for this to happen, or they know something that we don't know. But basically, what they want to do is reduce the population by 80% and them be the only people around, and anybody else who's left will just be their slaves. We currently are their slaves now, but there's too many of us. They can't keep up with the amount of people that there are currently in the world. So they need to reduce that so that way they can control it back like when kings and queens were around. I also had wrote a book, which is right here. We'll show you. I have a couple of books that I wrote, but the main one that I want you guys to see is this one right here. And where's the other one? This one right here. These 2 books. The first one is We the Peasants, an 8th century stronghold. That is on Amazon under R.P. Stanton. You can buy that. And the other one is Operation Truth, a Rogue Colonel's Quest. This one's just a short book. But if you read that and you see, last year I wrote that book and I talk about secret underground bunkers and who's actually really running the world in that book. You should check it out. Both of them are on Amazon under R.P. Stanton. Check those out. Like I said, it doesn't make no sense to me that this was able to go on and no one really knew anything about it. Well, then I got to looking into it. The DOD, the Department of Defense, wasn't actually even being audited. The very first audit that took place for the DOD was in 2018. And from 2018 to today, they have failed 7 audits. Trillions of dollars went missing. They have no idea where it went, and it's untraceable. Now, from 2018 back, they have several instances where trillions of dollars went missing and they have no idea where it went. For instance, they had found out that $20 trillion had went missing in, August of 2001. And when they were investigating what happened, a plane hit the Pentagon in the exact area where they were investigating the loss of that money. And everything was burnt up. So they couldn't look into it anymore. Gone. Everything was gone, lost. Now, if you look into the Timothy McVeigh and the Oklahoma City bombing, kind of the same scenario. I thought that that was just a courthouse, but it actually was a federal building that housed multiple things inside the building. It wasn't just a courthouse. It was a federal building that housed multiple different things within the building. Yeah. See, a lot of these things get left out when they're telling the story about what happened. And now today, everybody has a cell phone, everybody has a camera, everybody can get onto social media platforms. Now, they try to censor you. They censor me like crazy. I have 148,000 subscribers on YouTube, and I get 40 views. They just banned my account on TikTok. This is my second account on TikTok because they banned it because they do not like us sharing the truth. They don't want you to know this stuff that I'm telling you. They don't want us to figure it out. But we are. We're slowly piecing it together that pretty much everything we have been told up to today in our history, most of it is a lie or was created as a fabrication to further their agendas and what they had planned for us. Now, we're also going to talk a little bit about something that will blow your mind. If it is true that over the last 2 decades, or even longer, they have been creating these underground cities, right? Whole cities. And this lady just during the Bush administration and so on and so forth, $21 trillion. How do we know that it wasn't longer ago that they started this? And a lot of these UFO sightings, these strange phenomenons, these things that look like as a glitch in the Matrix, a lot of our history, how do we know that there isn't a whole nother city underneath us that is operating and running? The Biden administration allowed 11 million people to come across the border from 2020 to 2024. Out of that 11 million, almost 300,000 children went missing. They have no idea where they went. Is there secret bunkers and cities where they're taking these kids? Is there more orphan trains that they are indoctrinating these children so that way this history is no more? Are they creating a whole nother world down there so once this one ends they can continue? There's a lot of questions here. I mean, there is a lot of information. There's actually a whole line of stuff that talks about let me go back here real quick. Basically, not that one, right here. They talk about a breakaway civilization, and it says it's a concept that suggests the existence of a separate, highly advanced group of society that has evolved beyond the mainstream or public known world. This concept often involves the ideas of secret technologies, advanced knowledge, and sometimes a detachment from mainstream society. So over here we've got Area 51, where we know nothing about it. And, you know, in movies they talk about it going down 51 stories. And then you've got this new deal that they just found under the pyramids of Egypt that goes down 2,000 feet or whatever, that no one noticed. No one had any idea. In ancient times, we had, you know, the Aztecs and all these people who went underground and lived in ancient, you know, cities built with rocks and all that stuff, and they survived there forever. Now they're saying that these $21 trillion cities, or even more, I guarantee you there's a lot more money that's been spent on it that no one knows about. But these cities are connected with subways, and they go over to other countries, and they are connected all over the world. Full ecosystems, water, trees, plants, food, like fully functional cities underneath us that these people have been paying for. In the event they decide that the peasants are getting out of control, they can drop a nuclear bomb or a sickness that they created in a biolab and just wipe us off the planet, and they will be just fine living in their bunkers. They will be able to survive and keep whoever is in there with them that they allow to survive as their peasants, their slaves. So this whole thing is just absolutely crazy, and I want to know what you guys think about it. I want you to let me know in the comments. What is your thoughts about this? I mean, it's crazy, crazy to think. Here they are, finally going through USAID and Act Blue, and they're coming into, that they've found $1 trillion so far that the federal government has wasted or stolen in taxpayer money. But like I said, they're only doing the last 4 years. This has been going on for hundreds of years. Since they created the Fed, since they created the whole entire government system, the Congress, the Senate, the presidency, this whole thing was designed to work in their favor. And like I said in the last video, it has worked amazing for a long time. But like I said, everybody has a cell phone. Everybody has a camera. It's hard for them to stop you from sharing the truth now. And what that is doing is creating panic and fear within the elites and the Democrats, because they're afraid they're going to lose that power and they're going to get caught, they're going to get found out, and it's going to get stopped. So, what are their options? Just like when a criminal breaks into a bank, they teach you that fight or flight scenario. You're either going to fight against it and try to maintain that power and keep control, or you're going to flee down to these cities and allow either the nuclear bomb, the whatever to happen. Now they're saying in 2032 that they can see an asteroid coming towards Earth, and that it's going to be really close to hitting us, and it might hit us, it might not, but it's going to be super close. They can see 7 years into the future that it's going to come really close to us. But is that true, or is that just the time frame they're giving themselves to get down into their bunkers, get set up, so that way they can eliminate everybody else, reduce the population by 80%? A group of elites meet in Davos, Switzerland, every month to discuss how the world is going to be ran. These elites, Carl Schwab or Charles Schwab or whatever his name is, these people decide that they want us to eat bugs, live in 15-minute cities, drive electronic cars, and have universal basic income. And if we don't like it, then they flip a switch, turn it off, or put us in jail. That's the way they want us to live. And most of us have already said, no way, that's not going to work. So therefore, they want to reduce the population by 80%. They want to bring it down to numbers that they can control. That way, we don't get out of line. Us little peasants, us little bugs that do everything for them, pay every bill. But basically, once they eliminate the population by 80%, they will have all the wealth, they will have all the food, they will have all of the control. That is what they want. And like I said, this has been going on for a long time. If you look back to the 1950s, they were doing a thing called Operation Midnight Climax, our own federal government. And that was an operation carried out by the CIA and a sub-project of Project MK Ultra. MK Ultra is another one. The mind control research program that began in the 1950s, it was initially established in 1954 by Sidney Gottlieb and placed under the direction of the Federal Bureau of Narcotics in Boston, Massachusetts, with the federal narcotics agent and CIA consultant George Hunter White under the pseudonym of Morgan Hall. Dr. Sidney Gottlieb was the chemist who was the chief of the chemical division of the Office of Technical Services of the CIA. Gottlieb based his plan for MK-Ultra and Operation Midnight Climax off the Introgen method research under Project Artichoke. Unlike Project Artichoke, Midnight Climax gave Gottlieb permission to test drugs on unknowing citizens, which made way for the legacy of his operations. Hundreds of federal agents were involved in this. They were drugging people without their knowledge. They were conducting sexual tests to see how they operated on all of these different drugs, these different mind control drugs, just running tests as if we were lab rats. And they got away with it for a long time. They were allowed to do this with nobody even asking questions. There's also Operation Sea Spray, where they just sprayed diseases into the ocean in San Francisco to see how fast everybody would get sick. They also did the same thing in New York. They would fill light bulbs with diseases and drop them into the subway and let them break and see how fast everybody would get sick. We have been lab rats for these government officials and elites for hundreds of years. They have just been testing these things to see how well it goes for them, how well they can get away with it, how long it takes for us to get over it. They literally created this system and had us voluntarily put ourselves into the rat cage, looking for the cheese. They have us have children, put them in school, put them in college, tell them they have to go to work for the American dream, save as much money, put it into the stock market, put it into savings, and work until you die. And then all of that money that you put aside, you worked for, you don't even get. Between death tax and the inheritance tax and the fact that the federal government will keep your Social Security, they will not give it to your family. Everything that you've done was literally for the federal government and the elites. Everything that you're doing, you're going to work, you're trying to provide for your family, you're breaking your back, but it benefits the federal government and the elites more than it does you. You literally will work until you die, and they will keep most, if not all, of the money that you have saved or put together trying to leave something for your family. That is how the federal government is created, and we willingly are doing it. They literally set it up to where we willingly get in that cage and hunt for the cheese until we die. 90% of us never find the cheese. We end up perishing before we get there, and the government keeps all of the money. Ask yourself, is it worth it to keep looking for that cheese? Even in the stock market, you keep putting money into the stock market. You keep putting it into crypto. You keep putting it into different things with the hope that one day it's going to go high enough to where you don't have to work. Look at how many people play the lottery. That is their only hope and dream within the United States, is that one day a miracle will happen and they will hit that lottery. And they do not have to go to work. They don't have to stress. They can not worry about money. That is the only hopes that are out there for people. There is no hope for you going to work and working 40 hours a week and having most of your paycheck taken in taxes that you're ever going to climb out of that debt. It'll never happen. The inflation is too high for what most people make in money at their job. Their wages are not enough to even come close to paying what they have to, let alone putting a little extra aside so that way they have a rainy day fund. There is no way for that anymore. It is sad how we literally have walked into it and said, I'm going to freely do this. I'm going to pay you taxes. I'm going to work until I die so that way you are benefited. We literally have willingly been doing this. We have willingly been following laws that these people are writing that are the most ridiculous laws that you have ever heard of in your life. All while they're stealing money from you for their own personal agendas. Literally, your hard-earned tax dollars, $21 trillion went to build an underground city, so that way, in case an extinction level event happens, the elites and the Democrats are safe, but you are not. Your money went to build it, but you will never get to be in there in the event of an emergency. Let that sink in. Your money went to pay for it, but you'll never get to go there. That is the way it is with most things in the government. Your money is going to all of these things, to these other countries, but you will never see a dime of that money, and you will never get any recognition for it. That is what we are to them. Rats in a cage looking for the cheese. It's absolutely sickening. So when you see Doge, which is doing an amazing job, Elon Musk and his team, their numbers are for the last 4 years. US8 has been around since 1960. The Federal Reserve has been scamming people since 1913. They gave you a credit score in the 1930s. Okay? A credit score when these people, the federal government, are $37 trillion in debt. And they're giving you a credit score. Ask yourself this question. If you were being audited and all out of the blue, a meteor hit your house and started it on fire, and you didn't have any of the documentation to show where all your money went or what you made, you would be in jail. But the Pentagon can lose $20 trillion and have a supposed plane hit it and burn up everything. And it's just swept under the rug, the ashes that are left, and nothing is done about it. The federal government can be $37 trillion in debt, even though they're taking $9.9 trillion every year in tax dollars from the American taxpayer. $37 trillion in debt. If you were $37 trillion in debt, your only option is to file bankruptcy, which just benefits the federal government even more. There's no justice for the little guy. There is no repercussions for the Democrats and the elites. These people are allowed to basically get away with murder. And it has happened. Look at the Oklahoma City bombing. Look at September 11th. Look at most every war that has ever been started in our world. It all links back to the Fed, the Federal Reserve. It's kind of scary to think that these people that supposedly we vote in and they have our best interest at hand, that's what we vote them in for. Every one of them is a multi-millionaire. They weren't when they started, but now they are multi-millionaires. There isn't one person in Congress, Senate, or who has ever been a president that is not a millionaire. Why? Because they steal our tax dollars. This $37 trillion that we're in debt, none of us agreed to send billions to all these wars. None of us agreed to send billions for transgender research. None of us agreed to any of this. But that's what they took our money and said that it was being used for. Instead, it was going to this committee, this lobbying. We're going to send it to USAID to help other countries, but yet we're actually just going to put it back in our pocket. Every one of them are multimillionaires. Well, you sit there and try to scrape up change to get ramen noodles and hot dogs to feed your family. When they take 24 to 30% of the little guy's tax out of their paycheck and how much money they make. You're taxed on everything. You're almost taxed completely to death. And yet they're out there, multimillionaires, multiple mansions in different states, private jets, cars. I mean, most of them don't even drive. They have drivers that drive them places that we pay for. Their hotels, their lodging, their food, we pay for that. Well, you can't afford groceries for your children. Our tax dollars are paying for them to live the lap of luxury. The lap of luxury. Like I said, most of them have multiple mansions in different states. And here we are struggling. They're able to build $21 trillion cities underneath the world. And no one bats an eyelash. No one says, you know what? Enough is enough. I'm tired of this. These people owe me a refund. Not some measly $5,000. $5,000 doesn't even begin to cut it. Look at our ancestors who are dead in their graves, who worked this beautiful American dream system right up until they died and lost all their money. No, that's not how it works, people. You can't go in and take Indians' land and then say, okay, well, we stole all that. We're going to let them have casinos. Well, now if you look at it, most of the casinos that are owned in the world are owned by the elites in the federal government. The casinos are making billions of dollars. And then you have the lottery, like I said before, the only hope that Americans have. And it's a non-profit owned by our federal government that is ran by the states. And they have had multiple lawsuits against the lottery because they can be rigged. And every time there's $1 billion jackpot or more, they always have issues with counting the tickets and they can't figure out where the winning ticket was. And all out of the blue, it's some random small little gas station in California who won the 1 billion, the 2 billion, the 3 billion. It's always the same story. Every drawing goes over without a glitch until it's over $1 billion. Then they start to glitch and they have all kinds of problems. It's just another laundering hub. It's just another piece of cheese that they dangle over your nose so you can hope and pray to one day get out of that groove where you're not going to have to worry and stress about money. One day you may hit that lottery and you will have enough money to help your family, and you'll have enough money to be stress-free, be able to get the dental work or the health that you need, your health insurance paid for, your house paid for, your cars, just not to stress. But sadly, all of it is just a piece of cheese dangling in front of your nose. You will never reach that carrot. You will never reach the cheese. These people do not want you to ever get out of debt. That's where they want to keep you because that's where they can keep control of you. The moment that you quit paying the taxes, quit following the laws, and quit listening to these people who supposedly have our best interest at hand, then they get freaked out. That's why they don't like senior citizens, because any senior citizen who gets to that age, who actually made it and retires, well, now they're taking money from Social Security that they put in there over the course of their time working. But now that person becomes a drain on the federal government and the elites. They don't want to have to pay them to do nothing. That's not the way it was intended. So when you get things like the VID, who target mainly older people, it makes sense then. It's like, oh, well, wait a minute. They're trying to get rid of the people who are collecting Social Security and getting free health care. They don't want, those people are a drain to them. They don't like that. They can't control them no more. The only thing that they can get out of them is the tax money from their Social Security and land taxes. It all starts to open a big picture, doesn't it? On why the vid was released originally, to knock out most of these people who are collecting Social Security and to depopulate. See, they would rather not have to use their underground cities and keep going up here. But in the event that they can't get control of the millions of Americans and the people in this world who are not going to stand for it, then they will take drastic measures to make sure they get it accomplished. Sadly, that is what they will do. So, let me know your thoughts. I really want to know everybody's thoughts about this. I know I ramble a little bit, but it's to the point. Like I said, I did a little short video earlier. I did a funny. I said, you know what? I'm tired of being on the losing team. The Democrats and the elites always win. So, even though they're committing all these crimes and there's proof of it, they always win. So I put out there, you know what? My vote is for sale and my silence is for sale. You want to shut me up? You want to keep banning me from TikTok and all of these places? Buy me out. Give me $1.5 million and you won't hear from me no more. I will quit telling people the truth and I will vote whatever way you tell me. That's the funny video I put out earlier. That's about how bad it's getting. It is getting horrible. And every day, the news that comes out, and you're finding out more and more and more and more corruption, and more child trafficking, and more biolabs and things that are in our food, and they actually have cures for cancer that they wouldn't give us. I mean, these people are sick individuals. They are absolutely sick individuals. They only care about themselves and they only care about their pocketbooks. Do you want to continue to be the rat looking for the cheese? Or do you want to take your life back and live your life to the fullest and do what you want to do and forget about these elites that are trying to control everything that we are doing? I don't want to be looking for the cheese no more. I want to have my cheese given back. And that's the end of it. So that's the podcast for today. I hope you guys enjoy these. Like and subscribe. Share these videos. Check out We the Peasants Podcast on Spotify, on YouTube, on TikTok, as long as it'll let it be up. You can also check it out on Facebook. But, yeah. Absolutely crazy. We'll see you guys on the next video. You have a good day.